You've probably heard it countless times. Date as many people as possible in order to find the right person. This is probably one of the most dangerous advices you will ever hear. While it might seem like dating lots of different people is the perfect way to get a thrill of a lifetime, this type of lifestyle of switching relationships can be a recipe for disaster in the end. Here are 5 reasons you shouldn't be dating casually. Number 1. You get emotionally damaged. The dangers of serial dating are clear. After every breakup, you are left with some level of emptiness and insecurity, which can make it difficult for you to form healthy relationships again. This is because almost every breakup always leaves you with some sort of damage. Whether indirectly or directly, you are often left with scars and wounds to deal with. Most often, you will try to go into a new relationship with a heavy heart expecting to heal. And often you're wrong, because serial dating is a never-ending cycle of pain and hurt. You never quite know what's going to happen in your next relationship, which makes it all the harder to recover when things go wrong. The damage you inherit over time by constantly switching to new relationships leaves you even more emotionally damaged. For example, your first partner might have told you he preferred slim-fit women. This makes you run to the gym in order to cut down to meet his expectations. He eventually leaves you for a new woman, which leaves you hurt and heartbroken. A new partner walks into your life and tells you he prefers someone much chubbier. This makes you begin to eat in order to put on some weight. Once again, he leaves you for someone else. The continuous cycle of people walking in and out of your life eventually changes different aspects of who you are. Even if you manage to get through, you'll always be carrying some sort of emotional baggage with you. This may impact the way you interact and connect with your future spouse. Number 2, you become vulnerable. The more relationships you get into, the more vulnerable you become. This is because every time you get into a new relationship, you might find yourself sharing details about your personal life and secrets to a completely new stranger. Although this might seem harmless at first, it can come back to haunt you over time. The more you share your life with multiple people, the more vulnerable you become. In the event of a breakup or a misunderstanding, your exes can certainly use all your past secrets against you, because all the people you dated in the past hold something they could use against you. They might tell people about your personal weaknesses or disclose embarrassing moments from when you were together. They feel they have nothing to lose, and it's all a game of revenge. In the end, the very things you tried keeping secret become a source of pain for yourself. You must be very careful of how you live your life, because you never know what you might become tomorrow. Some people had promising futures only to have their exes show up from hell and expose their secrets that totally damaged their future prospects. Sometimes the people you once loved are the very ones that the enemy will use against you. It doesn't matter how much you trusted them. This is why it is important to preserve yourself for the person you will marry, instead of moving from partner to partners. Because you can't ever guarantee that the people you date will never expose you to others should they separate from you. Number 3, you invest in the wrong people. The problem with dating is that it's all about hoping for the best. You fall in love with the idea of a person instead of the person themselves. You invest your time and energy into something that you hope will be everything you ever wanted. But inevitably, something happens, and then you are left with a broken heart, an empty wallet, and a stack of unanswered texts, because you invested in the wrong people. Imagine a scenario where you meet a man who you believe is the right man for you. You put in all the work and sacrifice to make him a better man. You spent a huge part of your relationship trying to keep this guy straight and make him responsible. You even went a step further to sponsor him at the university, giving him a place to stay, and even helping him apply for jobs. Sacrificed your own personal goals and time for him, only to have him leave you at the end for another woman who didn't even put in half of the work you did. It isn't always wrong investing in people or relationships. It is only wrong when you invest in the wrong relationships. When you find yourself dating too often, you might always find yourself building someone else for another person. This means training them for somebody else to take over. We aren't talking about sacrificing for someone you are guaranteed to spend the rest of your life with. We are talking about someone you are assuming will marry you. Someone who hasn't even proposed to you. Someone you are only hoping might one day be the person you will end up with. Save yourself a whole lot of heartache by being patient enough to wait for the right person. instead of jumping around in the hopes of meeting the right one. Number 4. Emotionally drained. When you keep dating new people, you continuously restart your relationships. This is emotionally draining because you have to put in the effort to bond with them all over again. Eventually, you reach a point where you just don't want to bother anymore. You become exhausted by continuously being pulled in different directions. And you break up with people fast because you don't want to be in a situation where you're constantly depleted. The more relationships you get into, the more emotionally draining it gets. This leads to emotional fatigue because you become worn out trying to bond with new people every time. It's not that you don't care about the people, it's just that your emotional tank is running empty and it needs a break. Sometimes the best favor you can do to yourself is to take a break from relationships. A person who dates too much does not necessarily become a better person by dating. Neither do you become worse off when you choose to remain single. You often get hurt because you jump from person to person without ever giving yourself a break. The more you jump, the more damage you take. You need to give your heart some time to heal, rather than always putting it through an emotional strain. This will allow you more time to get to discover yourself as a person. Dating too many people over the years might seem like fun, but over time, you will start forgetting the very basics of what it means to love. In the event you meet the right person, you might find yourself putting 2 times the effort towards loving them than you would have if you didn't have to date too many people. Number 5. You create unhealthy soul ties. The more people you date, the more likely you are to form unhealthy ties. And the more you have of these unhealthy ties, the harder it is to break free from them. When you form relationships, words are spoken. These words can be promises or statements you make. For example, you might promise this person you will never leave them. Or you might even tell them you will never love anyone else apart from them. In some cases, you might even tell that person that you will never marry someone else. Although these promises may seem harmless at first, they can have serious consequences. This is because you are essentially tying yourself down to this person and preventing yourself from ever finding happiness again. Words have more power than you think. By making a confession and guaranteeing someone that you will never be with anyone else apart from them, you are effectively forming a covenant with your own words. Even though you might later break up with them, those words you spoke years ago are still effective. This is why some people might go through their whole life never being able to settle down in a stable relationship, because they had by their own words made confessions they believed in. This is why many people separate from their ex-partners, but are unable to stop thinking about them, because they are spiritually bound by their own words. This isn't to imply that you can't tell people you love them, but making guaranteed promises to someone you aren't married to is a sure way of getting yourself tangled with them spiritually. So there you have it. Thank you for watching. If you love our videos, please feel free to subscribe to our channel.